Hello, 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 and happy Friday. I hope you are doing well. Today is February 13th. It is the 13th day of Black History Month. And also, happy Friday. Well, today's topic is going to focus on nothing no other than power doesn't ensure integrity. This is a big one. This is within any leadership position. I mean, within anything within society, it must be understood and recognized that power does not ensure integrity. We're definitely learning that right now when we look at all the epi files that are being released and all the different things that are going on within government and just politics in general and within corporations and all the leaders and things like that, all the stuff that's going on. It's a lot going on, and we've seen in history has taught us as well that as power increases, so does the risk of entitlement, moral compromise, and abuse when accountability is weak. I've been speaking about accountability, and we've been learning that accountability is the main reason why we are still not learning from our wrongs of the past, not just from Black history and the founding of this nation, but the founding of this nation and other nations throughout the world. And this all stems from a lack of accountability. We see some recognition when it comes to many things, but when we look at Black history and Black history shows us there was no real accountability for slavery in this country. There was no real accountability for slavery throughout the world, within other nations and continents. There has been no true accountability for slavery. I have to say that again. And we learn this from Black history. It's something that is not one mentioned. We can have Black History Month, but it doesn't mean that we're actually truly recognizing why we have Black History Month. Black History Month really hasn't even been recognized by current administration right now, let alone Martin Luther King Day. These are important days and of recognition for the history of this nation. And when you don't speak of something, it's as if it doesn't exist. It limits its importance. And when you are in power and you use your level of influence and power, but you don't speak on something that is necessary and important as Black history, you are symbolizing that it is not important. You are treating it as if it doesn't matter. You're treating it as if it doesn't, need to exist. Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for coming in. You're treating it as if it shouldn't exist. We're even here. You hear it in so many aspects. I mean, of course, with anti-DEI movement and the push for that, and even down to the word Black when saying Black History Month. I just saw on the news down in Florida at FAMU that I don't know if it was a sorority or whatever, a group within the college wanted to celebrate Black History Month, but they had to remove Black from saying Black History Month as if it's a bad word. I mean, Black has always been viewed as a bad word, right? We already know this. You can look it up in the Bible. I mean, not in the Bible, the dictionary. Well, yeah, the Bible too, but look it up. And Black has always been viewed as a bad word. And we've kind of moved away from that understanding as we've tried to be more inclusive within society and within businesses, even though, we're still trying to, even though it becomes this thing that we have to educate, and that's up for debate too, as to why should we be the only ones to educate. But that's another topic. But to stay on focus, Black is a negative word. It is viewed as dirty, as ignorant, as, inhumane, savagery, darkness, and we've turned it into something great thanks to Black History Month, thanks to, Black Power movement, thanks to us as Black people recognizing who we are, right? But the sad part about that is that now it has become yet another derogatory term that we're fighting to keep as something positive. Derogatory as if we can't say black, as if we don't exist. It's a way of saying that we don't exist. And this is dangerous because it's allowing those in power to not be checked on what the true reality is, that it is our identity. So, hi, thanks for joining me. So, it's a way of erasing that identity. And as we're seeing, the more that power is going unchecked and the more this power is increasing with the movement to remove just the word black from Black History Month, or just the identity and the history of why Black history is necessary, and as I've said before, the lack of accountability of what it meant to have slavery within this nation and around the world. There has been no accountability for slavery. I'm going to say that again. And regardless of what anyone thinks, this is continuing, and this continues and will continue to be an issue because power is not going checked, and it is remaining unaccountable and not being held. And that's not just any political party, that's the country and the nation as a whole, because we're moving from that. And that also instills into corporations, and that thinking is held within the corporations and how we are viewed within the workspace. So when we have corporations following this same movement of anti-DEI and all this and that, and not wanting to really address Black History Month and all of that, those types of ideas, we're uplifting that negative thinking, that negative power, and we're allowing it to go unchecked. And when we look at how these types of things are instilled within corporations, that starts first, of course, with building the culture. And who's responsible for culture but HR? And mind you, I work in the HR space, and I like to speak on my channel with an HR focus, so that we all can be leaders in our own way within our lives and within our works and within our careers. And that's the whole point of my channel. And thank you guys for joining me. Those that are new here, please hit the like button. I hate to be like the pusher, but please, because I'm glad to have you guys here. And the more I have, I'd love to continue these talks. But so the idea of us upholding these types of ideologies and thinking. Yes. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. We are, hold on, the dog wants to come in the room. Come on. All right. The dog likes to listen. Go lay down. The idea is to create this space where we can be CEOs in our lives and within our careers, right? Or within our careers. So when we are in workspaces and we're witnessing and experiencing this hate, and recognizing others going through this hate as well, and we don't call it out, we're helping to allow the hate to continue and to grow and to manifest into other things within society and within work environments and work culture. Yes, I do take questions as long as they're expressible. I disagree with you, but I can still respect your perspective. Well, go ahead. Share why you feel that way. This is what this space is for, as long as we're, having healthy discussion. I'm all about healthy discussion. What is my career? Like stuff like that. What do you like to do and stuff? Okay, I am an HR consultant, and not HR in the way of hiring and firing. I specifically help businesses to understand the benefits of any HR initiative. So even if it's like training, since we're speaking on training, or just culture and bringing awareness, I go in and I evaluate how people are experiencing their culture. So I do research and analysis, and I help to determine also the impact and return on investment of implemented solutions, so types of training and stuff. So I'm looking at the hows and whys of it, how we're experiencing it, why we're experiencing it, how it's impacting how we're performing on the job, and all of those types of things. And I do this based on I work for myself. I have my own consulting firm. I started doing this in 2014. I started my business in 2011. And I actually learned how to do this through the United States Navy. I am a veteran of the United States Navy. And I was what people would say a cook. I was a cook. But being a cook is more than that. You have to be emotionally intelligent and understand human behavior. And I was on a ship, I was an aircraft carrier. So I was in charge of, all creating all meals and making sure quality assurance and things like that, ordering of meals, stuff like that. So it's the understanding of how food can impact how we feel and boosting morale. So that's really how I learned and understood the psychology of the workplace. And after transitioning after 5 years, I started my business pretty much after I couldn't really find a job in federal government, and it was just hard to get a job. I was working at a hotel and stuff like that, but nothing that I really wanted to do. And so I started my own business, and I've been doing this. It's amazing. I've been blessed to be doing this almost 11 years now. And I'm just, I teach people how to do this type of work as well. And I just like to bring awareness to help create workplaces and spaces where we want to be successful in and want to be a part of. So that's another reason why I'm very passionate about speaking about this and, bringing awareness to lessons of the past and how we're not learning from them and creating, this world, that is continuing to be filled with hate. And how do we go about that? How do we get away from that? How do we help as us individually? How do we contribute more to help create new cultures and new environments that are safe and inclusive and, not limiting and even inspiring, right? Because the idea is each one teach one, or to lead by example. So if we're all moving in that type of thought process and not worried about, okay, here we go. And I work in leadership at a factory, and I'm a full-time student. I'm 27, married. Congratulations on your marriage. I own my own home. First of all, thank you for your service, and I appreciate it greatly. You disagree with DEI. That's fine. You have your rights to disagree with it, but I'm here to. One of the things I do evaluate is DEI initiatives. So when I say I'm evaluating DEI initiatives, I'm looking at how it's impacting everyone, and I think that's something where people get it misconstrued when it comes to DEI. They think it's for one set group, and it's really not. Like, DEI is for me. I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. So I'm checking all kinds of boxes. So I'm not just looking at race when I say DEI. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about how do we make this place inclusive for all and for everyone to feel accepted. So it's not looking at a difference. Hold on. I think that they come from a place of good intention, but it has had an opposite effect. I think I would have to agree with that, because when you are saying, oh, we're creating for this group, of course another group is going to feel like, well, what about me? Right? And feel left out and feel as though they are not a part of it. And I think that that's the dangerous part of it, because we have to, but it's also, we have to realize that, and it's the sad part, that we live in a biased world, and I hate, and lots of people don't want to admit that they're biased. And I think if we could shift from, and having an easier way of seeing without it being, I'm sure some nerd will come up with it with use of AI or something. You know how technology is and people creating stuff. But what we really need is an impartial way of implementing solutions and implementing things. And then even the dangerous part about that, now that we're speaking about AI, for example, when we look at hiring, even when we're designing these things, we forget they're designed by humans. So I think it's just, we're not going about checking for biases on all sides. That's what I do. I'm an evaluator. So this is something that I do, but We don't have enough of that, you know. We just have people making their own assumption, right? And they're working within a business, and they're not impartial. So that's first and foremost. There's not enough impartiality and a lot of people from within. So no one can see what the real issue is. That's first and foremost. That's one thing I can say as a consultant. Say I work with people of all walks of life, truly different races and genders, especially in leadership. Now there is one thing that differentiates people at their base of mental health. Exactly. Mentally, we all, a lot of people don't. We have a mental capacity at different levels. I will agree with that. And even with that, our cultures and how we've been raised, and the fears that some may have and not realize that they have. And I think that's what it is. It's just such a difference of culture, and then stigma from every culture, and everyone recognizing, but at the same time not willing to learn. You have to be willing to learn. I think that's one of the things. We all have some form of hate within us because of whatever happened in the past, and I think that comes from the past not really being dealt with within this nation, and not even nation, just society as a whole. It's always left as though, well, it happened and we're moving on. But it's hard to say that if you're still dealing with issues depending on your culture and where you live and all that. So this is not just a certain race thing. So, and I think that gets lost when we start talking, because it always focuses on this group and that group and this group and that group. And I'm a woman. I've lived all over the world. I've lived all over the world. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm from Southeast D.C. You could say all kinds of stigma things about me when it comes to that. But at the same time, I've lived all over the world. I've lived all over the world. Experienced so many different cultures, and I lived all over the world at a young age. So this is why I'm able to kind of see it from a different lens also. Because I like to say I'm a child of the world. I'm a child of the world. I'm a global citizen. And so thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad we're having this discussion. I am not afraid of a discussion long as we can have it in a civil way. And I think that that's something that we're also missing, right? I feel everyone's trying to push an ideology on something, or afraid to just say how something makes them feel, and then people take offense, and so it's really just the emotions of a lot of this stuff that's going on. And also fear as well. People are fearful of, you know, just what could be different. And that's from all sides. That is definitely true. Fearful. I am one that is not fearful. I have walked this earth, and I love this earth, and I love the people in it. And I'm not afraid to meet new people and understand new people and see how I can learn to be a better person, because we can all find ourselves harming others through our words or our actions and not really realizing why that is occurring. And then at the same time, not getting emotional and offensive about it. And I think that's the main thing that comes from that. And then that kind of also aligns back to the topic, which is power doesn't ensure integrity, right? So that means your power within, right? You maintaining control of yourself and your emotions and your perception, right? The willingness to stay positive, the willingness to learn, right? That determines your integrity. How you go about wielding your power, the power within you. I think people have been raised to be in fear, even though our modern environment doesn't require fear. I think that the way people have been raised and taught and what they have been told plays a big part. I agree. I agree. And that's why I'm having these talks. And even though I'm speaking from using Black history as a focal point, because it is Black History Month, using it as a focal point to have these talks and to have this engagement, it's not because, I don't, we know what the stories are. Happen again when you don't know. Fear. I don't really fear the unknown, but some people do. And the, just really just that recognizing that we all feel the same, We just are viewing it from a different lens. And we have to, remove our rose colored glasses and find a way to connect, equally. I really do. And that all comes from leadership, right? But if our leadership, our leaders, the people we hold up, the people, in society that we view as, great thinkers, that drive societal thinking and manage our corporations and businesses and government and all of that, they should be the ones driving these talks, right? But obviously that's not happening. So we need to start driving these talks. We need to be, leaders within ourselves and inspire the change. Oh, sorry, I'm reading and I didn't read out loud for other people. So they assume victimhood as opposed to wanting to succeed. When bad things happen, these people I'm referring to, the problem always happens to them specifically when it's really happening to everyone. Yeah. Um, let's break that down a little bit. When because we're just being kind of broad with it. We're just saying when bad things happen, we assume that the problem is happening specifically to them and not to everyone else. Can you give me like a scenario that makes it easier to break it down? Because I mean, when we think of bad things, I'm always the first thing I'm thinking about is intent. So it's really the intent behind it, and the harm that's caused, and we cannot minimize the experience either. So I think that's what really causes the problem, is because experience can be minimized because someone could say, well, I didn't intend to do that. So then it makes the person creating the action more of the victim than the one that's experiencing the action, and then the harm is minimized. But that's just in legal aspects. That's legally that's what that is. And so we have to be careful of that in saying that, but because of their perspective, they remain narrow-minded. I don't really think it's narrow-minded. I just think that people really do be feeling like they're not being heard or respected, or I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding. Keep correcting me. Go ahead and keep commenting, because I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Like, even in work, they say a problem arises. The problem affects the entire team. However, they feel that the problem is happening to them. Okay, feelings are valid. Yeah, there's no I in team, so I hear you on that. So those types of actions, they can impact everyone. So I see what you're saying. I get it. You're just saying just an actual problem, and people just making it as if it's only happening to them. That is true. I can see where you're coming with that, and saying that because we're all experiencing it. So like, if there's some form of hate, or whoever is experiencing it, or any form of, just anything, harassment, anything. Um that is only happening to them. Yeah, it can, and that's where it stigmatizes DEI. Yes, and that's where it can dim the light of the importance of it, because it makes it seem as if it's just us, and it's not all of us, even though we have to, no one's minimizing from either side, right? No one's minimizing from either side. So I hear what you're saying. I don't know if you've been watching all of my talks. I can't remember. I'd be running my mouth. I don't really always look at the comments. But when I'm speaking of this, I'm not speaking of this based on my talks are not just based on Black people. I'm speaking from everyone's perspective. And I've even spoken on indentured servitude and stuff, because this is a class issue. This, in my view, this is a class issue, a societal, social issue. Yes, race and all of that comes into it, but really it's social. Because we're not the ones in power. We're all workers pretty much, right? We're all relying on the 0.0001%. So So I'm speaking from our perspective because we don't hold and wield all this power to create these ideas and create and shape how society thinks. So when I'm speaking of learning from these lessons, it's not, of course, yes, Black History Month, it is Black History Month, but it's thinking back to the past. And the past was not just about us. It was other people that were suffering as well, you know? And when I'm speaking from that understanding. And from that understanding is a social issue. That is a class issue, and that is one that has continued to be an issue. When we look at all the wars that were started, it pretty much was that social issue, that class issue, right? And then we're the ones fighting the wars. So that's the idea of what I mean when I say that. Yes, we do hold power, but I mean, like, those that are like can wield like changes in the stock market type power. The ones that wave the magical wand and things change. So yes, we do have power, of course. But, the idea that, those that are really behind you know, the curtain, the great and powerful Oz, wielding the power to determine who and what and when and why. Yeah, we're the ones putting the pen to paper. We're the ones, putting the grind on out here and helping to shape society and really drive change within the world, But we're driving it based on what's before us, how things are marketed to us, what's sold to us, what's not sold to us, depending on what neighborhood you're in, what houses go here, what houses go there, all those important little nuances that we don't really have control over. So that's what I mean when I say that. So that's what I mean. So these talks are, to help us drive change against that type of thinking or align with it depending on what it is, however it is. See, I'm very vague. I don't speak on sides on this side. I'm just speaking on how we can work together. And that's not just in society, but in society as overall, in our everyday lives, within our workspace, and just trying to be that leader that the world needs. And that's what it's all about, being leaders for within our lives and within our professional careers. And that's what my space is all about. I'm not about, picking sides. I'm not here to tell you what is right or what is wrong. Yes, education plays a major part. People don't understand they have a say in their community because they aren't taught that they do. Amen. Amen. I agree. I agree. A lot of people don't even know when to vote, or how to vote, which is very shocking. It's very shocking. But there are a lot of people that just don't really know, and a lot of people don't trust government. I think trust is down so low. Edelman, it's called Edelman, and they do trust index, and I think it's like it's so low. I don't even know what the statistic is now. I think it's like 1 in 4 that trust the government, that like actually trust the government, and it's 1 in 3 that actually trust their employer and manager. So trust is so low that people are fearful to even speak, right? So in the workspace, you don't really want to talk. You don't really want to say how you're truly feeling. You're fearful to want to drive change. You're even fearful to drive change within your community and all of that. And you have to really just be in tune with I think social media has helped a lot, but you have to be engaged. Hold on, the dog wants to come in the room. Come on. All right. You have to really be engaged, and it takes a lot of work, and people are tired. To be honest, people are burnt out. So then the first time they make their voice heard, it's in too extreme of a manner. So the other side is, yes, because the people are tired. Like I said, they burst. They burst with all this emotion and outrage, and it's based on fear and just unknowing and just finally regurgitating all this emotion out of them, right? So that's another reason too, definitely. And as I said, people are burnt out. A lot of people are working really hard and not receiving a livable wage, depending on where they live depending on where they live, depending on where they live. I'm in Virginia. It's where I am in Virginia, it's pretty affordable compared to like up in the DMV area or up by New York and all of that. But then if you go further south, some places it's just as expensive. So it just really depends on where you are in the world. They then lash out because they are not educated on how to deal with it properly, which I personally believe has been done on purpose. Yes. Oh, in Wisconsin, cheese. I'm trying to think. No, I have not been to Wisconsin. I have to think. I think I haven't even been to I think only thing over there I've been to is Detroit, like a long time ago, and Wyoming. Wyoming is beautiful. Um my daughter will be going to college next year in Ohio, so that'll get me closer. It's so cold. The furthest up north I've been and actually lived is Pittsburgh. I just can't do the weather. The weather, I can't do it. I can't do the weather. Mhm. See, I'm picky. I can't. Pittsburgh, that area where it was snowing, and then it's like rain, it turns to ice, and then snow on top of that. And it's too much for me. I can't do it. I can't do it. Mm-mm. I'm good enough right here in Virginia. I mean, I could go visit. Like Wyoming, it was crazy. The snow was tall as me because I'm 5'2", so the snow was tall as me. So I've seen some snow, but it's too much. Yeah, I'm glad we're having this nice engaging conversation. And yes, it definitely is all about education. You know, that goes back again to access and, inclusivity and all of those types of things. And, you know, mind you, I went to high school in West Virginia. I'm from DC. I've lived all over the world. My mom, she retired in, my mom is from West Virginia. So I'm a descendant of coal miners. I understand completely. And when I went to high school, I was so advanced that I graduated early, and they were that behind. They were that behind. I was in ninth grade. I was 14, so I graduated high school that early because in West Virginia they were that far behind that I could just graduate. It was crazy. Speaking with you gives me hope for our world, truly. Oh, thank you. Although our views don't align, it shows respect for perspective goes a long way. Exactly. Because in the end, we both want the same thing. We want the same thing. We want the same thing. We want the same thing. Just the chaos has to stop. Everyone, needs an opportunity. We all want to work. We all want to feel safe. We all want to feel respected. This is what it is. We all just want to live, live, raise our family. Yeah. And not feel anger. I'm not angry, but I'm just saying like this feeling of chaotic anger or just unknowing and misunderstanding and just all of these emotions. It's a lot of emotions going on in society. And I'm just witnessing it and I'm trying to find a way to kind of bring some calm to whatever this is. But I do, me personally, a lot of things I have felt hated. Yeah. And I hate that I can minimize that because, you know, I always have to feel that way. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying when I say that. But it does feel that way. We both want to raise. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That's right. Spread love always. Exactly. And that's what it starts with. It starts with love, and actual willingness to listen. So it's not talking because everyone's just talking and yelling and screaming and doing all of that. No one's really listening. No one's really comprehending. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, no one's really comprehending or, really. I feel like it's gotten so bad. Awesome. It's gotten so bad that, the divisiveness is just terrible, and I don't know what the hell to say. I don't know what the hell to say. It's crazy. And I'm just trying to bring a voice to it and a different perspective, but in a calm way. I work in this space. I mean, I get it. You're not one for DEI. But when the space I'm in and the work that I do and the people that I know, it is not to instill hate on anyone or anything. It truly is about inclusivity. And I mean that because, like I said, I'm a woman from all backgrounds. I grew up in West Virginia. I'm from DC. Those are two different worlds. And then living all around the world, I've lived in so many different places. I lived in Turkey. I've lived in Greece. Like, I've lived all over, and that's from childhood up in, also when I was in the military. So I have a perspective from so many different things. Oh, you just got coming in. What do? I'm an HR consultant. No, I don't do hiring and firing. I help to make the workplace more human. I like to say that. Meaning, a place where we want to be. No one should hate their job. No one should fear their job. No one should fear people that are in their job. No one should have to worry about losing their job. No one should fear not being advanced or provided opportunities from their employer. So I speak from a lot of different perspectives for the voice of the employee. So that's what I do when it comes to HR consulting. And I can kind of see how, since we're speaking on like heritage and past, I think I get that from my grandfather, because he was a coal miner and a union man. I don't know why. I'm all for unions because, hey, he was a coal miner. And if it wasn't for unions, we would not have the Black Lung Fund. Everybody was dying of black lung disease and, literally dying and all of that. So I'm a fan of unions. So even though I'm HR, I am for unions. I am for people being able to voice. So I'm all about that. My perspective just comes from being super competitive. I have many perspectives too. I have lived in Illinois, Georgia, Texas. Yeah, those are different worlds. Very different worlds. Texas is its own world. It really is. Oh, office politics. Oh, girl. It should not even be. It shouldn't be no politics in the office. That's first and foremost. Uh, Office politics. First and foremost. First and foremost, I think I think people get too comfortable at work. And I get it. We spend our lives working, but I think sometimes we forget that it's work and not, home. That's first and foremost. People get very comfortable. They they get very comfortable and they forget, yeah, we're a work family, but we're not family. I don't need to know all your business. I think that's first and foremost. And I think people get so comfortable that they start bringing in their own ideas. Ugh, and they don't give a damn how other people feel. And that's where things go wrong. Because you can feel how you feel, but you have to recognize that how you feel may cause harm on others, right? So I believe in, respect for everyone and leading through love, and that means that even if I have a viewpoint that you may not agree with, I still have to respect you, right? I can't just disregard how you feel. I have to take that in, try to learn from it, and be more respectful about how I go about things. And I think that's the first thing, is, us being humane. That's one thing that we're lacking. Humane. I can't believe I forgot that word. That's what this is all about, being humane. Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. Yes, it's all about being humane and, not forgetting the human aspect, because that's really what I'm all about. In the workspace, I'm looking from the human aspect and why that matters. And that matters even more now because we're driving in all the AI and all the new technologies, and that's where a lot of jobs are being lost. And I also bring a voice to the human and why the human is still a necessity. So that's what I do. All right, y'all. I done got hungry. I'm gonna go now. I'll be back on again tomorrow. I don't know what the topic is going to be about, but if you guys have any suggestions, you can go ahead and put it down in the comments. Something that you feel that could align with learning from the past that's kind of linked to Black History Month, because that's the whole topic of this, and that doesn't necessarily mean just Black people. As I said, this is lessons of the past, right? That we haven't learned, and how we can move forward from there, right? And those lessons, as I said for today, was power doesn't ensure integrity. Basically meaning that those in power, just because they have power doesn't mean that they're the most intelligent, the most trustworthy, those that have our best interest. And what can we do to change that? So that was the lesson today. No, I have not, but I can look at that and see how I can align that to a topic. I'm not using like specific topics. I'm just kind of like, keeping it kind of vague so that it doesn't go down the rabbit hole. We're more just looking to empower everyone in a clear, easy way. But I definitely can look. I have my pen. Write it down. Yes, I still use a pen. Yeah, but write it down. All right, guys, I'm gonna go after this. If you guys don't have any other thoughts, okay, I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you guys have a good evening, a good, I guess Valentine's Day is, today's Galentine's, so happy Galentine's, happy Valentine's, just enjoy your weekend. Oh yeah, it is President's Day on Monday, right? So enjoy the holiday. Hopefully you get time off. All right, you guys be well, and remember, love yourself and others. Bye.